I'm a self-taught remote viewer. I have explored a lot of underground military bases. I've gone to Area 51, bases in Antarctica. I've stumbled across cloning facilities, and I've gone over to the other side many times. I remember the first time doing this, I was scared that I wouldn't make it back. You have a near-death experience, you go towards the light, and you're not going back to your body. You are far more powerful than you've ever been taught to believe, and you have the ability to access worlds within and worlds beyond this one. Your consciousness is the seed of creation.
My guest today is Elizabeth April. She's a spiritual teacher and author, and she's been featured on Gaia's Beyond Belief and Coast to Coast AM. She's here to talk about out of body experiences, remote viewing, and what those experiences have taught her. Elizabeth, welcome. It's nice to have you on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mo. I am grateful to be here.
Now, you're actually a badass remote viewer, and I say this because I follow your channel. But for the skeptics, I wanted to know, is there any way you can verify these remote viewings? Is there a way that people can know that this is actually something that's tangible?
So I ended up finding an institute called the Farsight Institute, and they are a world-renowned remote viewing institute, and they base their remote viewing practices on CIA military techniques. So they call it SRV, or scientific remote viewing. Essentially, this requires another person and a blind series of coordinates. That random series of numbers sort of directs the remote viewer to a targeted location. So this targeted location can be either on or off planet, and it can be throughout space and time, which is pretty crazy. I am certified in level 2 remote viewing from the Farsight Institute. Essentially, what that means is I have to go through a 4 to 6 hour double blind exam in order to basically pass the exam and be certified. And so out of both levels, I've probably been given around 20 different blind targets. And I'm really happy to say I've been 20 for 20. So I've actually never been off target when it comes to scientific blind remote viewing.
Can people actually learn this, or did you have just this natural ability to do this?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that I have more of an inkling of a natural ability to do this since I was doing it as a kid all by myself. But yeah, everyone can remote view. I mean, remote viewing, spirituality, psychic abilities, mediumship, whatever it is that is a non-physical ability, everyone has the ability to tap into because we're energy beings first and physical beings afterwards.
When you go out of your body, what does that feel like? Is it like a vivid imagination, or is it like thoughts? How does it feel?
It honestly does not feel like anything because one of the main things that you have to do in order to remote view is get into a state of what's called equanimity, which essentially means that you're aware of all reactions and sensations without any attachment. So it's like being objectively aware or being in a state of 0 point frequency, or simply put, just being in a state of trance meditation where your consciousness is completely present, but your body is still and your mind is still.
No. How did it all start from you? You said you were a child when you learned this?
So initially as a kid, I would, get out of my body. I would fly down, the stairs of my house, and then I would go right out the front door and I would start floating above all of the houses in my neighborhood. It wasn't until much, much later on that I realized I could even go off planet out of body or go to other dimensions out of body, like the afterlife, for example.
Does it feel natural when you do it?
Yeah, it feels as natural as breathing the air.
Wow.
Yeah.
My audience lives in the NDE world. And when you hear these NDE stories, especially like leaving out the body, what part of that sounds familiar to you?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of mediumship work in my life, mostly because I was able to see ghosts and spirits at a young age. Obviously, as a kid, like that would scare scare the living daylights out of me. And the other thing too about this phenomenon is when you observe a ghost, right? Like they observe you back. Like they can see when you can see them. So that was also kind of scary as a kid. Eventually, sort of in my early adulthood, I learned how to have conversations with these spirits and then also open up white light portals and cross them over to the other side. Now, of course, I got curious about this white light portal and I ended up going to the other side myself. I remember the first time doing this, I was scared that I wouldn't make it back because, I mean, hello, you have a near death experience, some tragic car accident. You go towards the light and you're not going back to your body. Um, so I was worried that if I sort of stepped, over this threshold, that I was gonna die. And I think that was a very realistic concern. Of course, I didn't. I'm still here and kicking, and I've gone over to the other side many times. I talk to a lot of spirits actually over in the other side as well. So it's cool because I can observe the NDE phenomenon from an objective perspective, not having a direct experience with a near death experience, but essentially being able to cross that threshold consciously and go to those places that other people go and have like a minor experience with. It's like I've had many experiences with it, just based on the clients and the spirits and, my own curiosity.
Now, a lot of NDE stories that I hear, they could be very different, and it's like almost it's personalized to whoever's going. What
Mhm.
did you experience?
Yeah, okay, so,
You're coming in there consciously,
yes, yes, I'm going in there consciously, and I have heard from not only clients of mine who have had very similar NDE experiences, but also spirits on the other side. Some of them are scared of going to hell, some of them are not spiritual at all. They're atheists and they don't believe in an afterlife, so that's different. There's a variety of different ways to perceive it. Actually, it's interesting when I go to cross over a spirit, okay? Um, I will go to them and I'll have a conversation with them, and they usually perceive me as an angel. So they don't really understand that I'm just a human having an out of body experience, helping them along the journey. And I'm not about to, explain that to them in their state of being. I'm like, okay, you can perceive me however you want to perceive me. Let me just help you get over to the other side. Um, anyway, so yeah, when I go through the light, I mean, I guess it would be like the closest thing that you could describe to as like heaven. It usually for me, it just looks like all like pure white light. Like there's not like a house or a room or any sort of structures. And then there's like many spirits on the other side. And it's cool because people just appear there, and usually when I'm talking to an individual, they'll have their spirit group or their spirit guides or their soul group around them. So the beings that are around them are usually associated in one way or another. It feels like things just sort of populate, out of nowhere. Things just sort of appear, but yeah, there's usually not really a very clear semblance of a physical reality up there. It's usually just a white light, infinite space.
some people get pushed back into reality by their whoever spirit guides or the person that appears for them. Does that have ever happened to you when somebody told you you're not supposed to be here?
No, never. I've been pushed out of a couple of different places, but never the afterlife. Mostly because I think I'm there helping other individuals cross over and understand sort of their life review and things like that. So, yeah, I've never ever been confronted or asked to leave, which is fascinating. But I think also it's never been a near death experience for me, so it's not like I'm getting shoved back in my body. I can choose to go back in my body anytime, so I think
Right.
it might be a little bit different.
Do you feel like there's different levels? Like, do you feel like that's a waiting area perhaps where you came first?
That's a good question. Yeah, so from what I've seen, I guess I could say yes, there are different levels, yes and no. So when someone passes away, there's usually like kind of a dark void that they go to. Like that is like the dark place. I don't know. Some people could maybe experience it as like a hell, but it's essentially like you've left your body, you're roaming around aimlessly. Usually, wherever you pass away is where you're connected to. It could be a house, it could be a hospital, it could be the side of a road. And for them, they perceive it. They may see sort of a dark gray semblance of the location that they're in, maybe like the hallway of a hospital, for example, but it'll all be sort of dark and like muted. Um, and then if someone can see them like me, someone like me, they'll see that individual as a light. like a light, and so they get drawn to the light, right? Because they think that the light can help them, which obviously they can most of the time. And then, yeah, so it's like kind of that dark place. I call it a purgatory, probably from my Catholic roots, but I don't know where else to. It's like the in between. You could call that the waiting area. If you're scared or if you have unresolved business or if you're not ready to fully leave this planet for whatever reason, you got attachments, or maybe you are atheist, you don't believe in anything, then you kind of wait there. You're kind of stuck there. Like for me, I could be driving down the road and I'll drive past the cemetery and I can see all the spirits who haven't crossed over. So I'll sometimes just go and do some work for them, or maybe there's a tragic car accident and I see, this family who's just lost at the side of the road and I'll help cross them over, So like this is how I encounter spirits everywhere. So that's like one layer. And then I'll open that white light portal for them. They get to choose whether or not to cross over. Once they go through the white light portal, then they go to that sort of heaven place. And then I guess like the third stage or the third layer or level would be like going right back to source frequency, where there's actually no separation of soul and source at all. Typically, you have to go through many, many, many incarnations across 12 different dimensions to go back to source, where there's no separate body. Like there's no individual beings there. There is just one light, and you become that light. That's like the ultimate sort of end of anyone's incarnations.
Now, you've experienced a lot of things going out of your body. What are some of the weirdest things you've come across?
Well, have explored a lot of underground military bases. Um, I've seen hybrid program facilities. I've gone to Area 51. I've explored bases in Antarctica. I've stumbled across accidentally cloning facilities. So that's pretty wild. I've been a part of a lot of royal family meetings as well. And it's funny too, because I'm kind of the ask, forgiveness later rather than ask permission first sort of person. And so I'll do something until I'm spotted doing it. And that's where I'll get kicked out. Like I'll get kicked out of a lot of places, or I'll be recognized as someone, not as me, but as just a remote viewer. I just never know who's gonna be able to see someone like me. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before we got started, but reptilians, like I know it sounds crazy, but one of the first realizations I made as a remote viewer was that this entire world is being run by non-human entities and non-human beings. And they look like giant dinosaur type scaled, 7 foot tall lizard people. And I know it's like one of the most laughable conspiracy theories out there, but man, it is the most real one I've ever experienced. And I've gotten myself into some tricky situations. And when I go to either like political venues or underground bases, if there's a reptilian there, whether they're in their human form or in their non-human form, they can see remote viewers. So I'll get kicked out quite a few times from these reptilian beings, unfortunately. Yeah.
Can there be any error in your remote viewing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's something called front loading. So essentially, if you have a preconceived notion around something, if you're, say, remote viewing a celebrity or a political figure and you either love them or you hate them, your emotional attachment or perception around that person or your perception around the outcome of that information can absolutely skew the information. So for me, it's like, that's why I'm so bipartisan. That's why I'm so neutral about really everything's conspiracy theories, aliens, politicians. Like, it's not that I don't care, it's that I don't really hold an emotional attachment to anything that I remote view. If I do remote view something personal, I usually just avoid it altogether because I do have too much an emotional connection. So it's either difficult for me to see objectively, or I just see something that's skewed or emotionally based and I just don't even go near it.
So you just said the world's run by reptilians. Now that's probably something that you didn't come into thinking. Is that right?
Did I ever want to believe in clones? Did I ever want to believe in aliens? Did I ever want to believe in reptilians? No. Did I ever want to talk about them? Definitely not. Because it's crazy. And I would much rather make up anything else that would be either more accepted or more believable or more cute.
Now, if this is true and we've been run by reptilians, I feel like we have no chance against a higher civilization.
Yeah, okay. So that's a really good point you bring up. That was something that I really struggled with for many years of okay, so I am experiencing these agendas, these conspiracies, these underground bases, these, and it just like at a certain point in time, you feel so apathetic because you're like, who am I? And what can I do? Like, I'm just one person. Everyone else is asleep, especially when I was waking up and seeing these things. I'm like, oh my God, like we're doomed. Like, we are just done for. And now I understand that the darkness is a part of the polarity in this universe, and not everyone's going to agree with that because I'm not a whole love and light type of teacher. Like I am a duality, unity, polarity, spectrum. Like we have to experience the full gamut of frequency in order to learn all of the lessons. And I don't know about you, but some of my greatest challenges in this life have led me to the greatest growth points. And so that's just what the darkness is. And so instead of resisting it, instead of even fighting it and resenting it and judging it and running away from it, if we can accept it and learn from it and then move forward, then we neutralize it altogether and we come to a place of unity. Not everyone is there because there is a lot of anger, and I get that. I was there for a long time, but eventually we have to get past the anger. So, yeah, I think everything's happening for a reason, and you may feel sort of lost and apathetic in that. But what we need to realize right now is that people are waking up to the corruption, they're waking up to the truth. And the very fact that we can be consciously aware of this stuff and say, I just simply don't agree with it, is actually putting an end to it. We don't have to get on our soapbox and preach. You don't have to be an influencer online. You don't have to be a spiritual guru in India, in order to put an end to this. All you have to do is wake up to the truth and say, that's not okay with me. And that's actually doing a lot of work.
If this really is the case, do you think our history is also different from what we're taught?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our history has been completely skewed. And I mean, right now, if you go to a school system in, Switzerland versus the school system in the USA, like you're going to be taught a very different history of the planet. Um, and that's just at a very basic level. But ultimately, our history involves a lot of extraterrestrial involvement and sort of their hand in our evolution. So, it's important to sort of understand that as well.
Now, when you remote view, do you come across these entities?
Obviously, if I go off planet, I come across a lot of different extraterrestrials, some good, some not so good. Like I said, I've gotten myself into some tricky situations because of it. But one of the groups and organizations that I remote view often is called the Galactic Federation of Light. And essentially, they are an amalgamation, an organization of many different extraterrestrial species who are all here to help in our ascension. And they essentially are here to abide by the laws of the universe. In a sense, they're sort of like the governing body surrounding the laws of the universe. They're kind of like a government agency. They've got a structure. They do have a hierarchy. Um, and but for the most part, they're here to just sort of to help whoever wants and needs help, who also believes in unity.
So, if that is the case, how come they're not helping us in our current state? Like
They
the
are. They
they
are.
are.
Yeah, they're helping us all the time. Of course, there's the law of free will and the law of non-intervention. So, funny enough, the number one way that the Galactic Federation is helping us right now, and they have been helping us throughout human history, is through taking their members, these Galactic Federation members, and incarnating, essentially volunteering to be a human at this time. So there are these essentially aliens walking around our planet in these human suits, um, helping and healing and giving information and enlightening and, all of that stuff. And I think it's so ironic because this is what the dark side is doing. This is what the reptilians are doing. They are literally here manipulating us, masquerading as human beings, harming us, hurting us, creating wars, creating corruption, creating lack and limitation and fear. Um, and after a very long time, the Galactic Federation realized that the best thing they can do without harming our free will or intervening, and disrupting that free will is to basically be born here and to lose all of their memory and then eventually, hopefully, get it back one day. So I do personally believe that I am one of these beings, and they are commonly referred to as star seeds. I like to refer to them as galactic volunteers.
So you do lose memory, just like any other human.
Yes, we do lose memory. However, we're usually contacted in childhood. We usually have some sort of extraterrestrial contact in childhood, which sort of plants a seed for later on. Whether we remember that in childhood or we become an adult and then we gain back that memory, there is usually a remembrance. Nowadays, the kids are really coming in with a lot more memory than we've ever had before.
So where do you see us going? It seems like humans are in the middle of this tug of war and struggle. Is that right?
Oh, we are not only just in the middle of this giant battle, this epic light and dark battle in this war. We're kind of at the end of it, actually, and it doesn't seem like it because if you look all around, really feel like we're in the midst of World War III. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the darkness is ending, right? And they are losing. They have been losing for a couple of years now, and so right now they're pulling out all the stops in order to gain back their power and their control. And so, yeah, it's like we are at the turn of the century right now. We are at the edge. We are at the precipice. We are at that crossroads between light and dark. And ultimately, what needs to happen is every human being on planet Earth needs to make a choice. And the choice that we need to make is either love or fear. What frequency do you want to live in and exist in? And whatever frequency that is that you choose, you therefore create a collective timeline and you hop into that collective timeline. Some people call it New Earth and Old Earth. Um, and so we've got a couple years to make that choice. Essentially, what I've seen is 2025 to 2028 is the period in time where the old systems collapse, the corruption and manipulation get exposed. So everything that's been happening is all out there on the table, available for us. After we know everything, then we can choose what frequency we want to be in.
Okay. So you're saying that if you choose the right frequency, you could live in a different timeline, basically.
Yeah, different reality completely.
Now, do you have any predictions about either direction or beyond that?
Yeah, I do.
You do. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, okay. So sort of in the lower frequency or the darker timeline, I have seen as a remote viewer an apocalyptic sort of World War III nuclear bomb, essentially like maybe many nukes going off on planet Earth, essentially destroying or ending that timeline altogether. This sounds like a really scary thing, but when you understand quantum mechanics and you understand that an infinite number of timelines is coexisting simultaneously an infinite amount of times, we've died many times before. This planet has ended many times before, and yet we've hopped seamlessly over to an alternate timeline. So just realize that the end is never really the end because of infinity. Um, and then the other timeline that I've seen is sort of that new earth timeline, that consciousness, that higher frequency collective timeline where environmental problems like plastic in the ocean get resolved. Things like disease and cancer are cured finally for good. Technologies like free energy comes out. Full cosmic disclosure happens, and we get to join the Galactic Federation if we so choose. This is what we have to look forward to in that new timeline. And I think for a lot of people, it's confusing. I mean, they're seeing both of these things play out at the same same time because those timelines are overlapping, and that confusion is leading people to hop in and out of these higher and lower timelines at, however many times per day. But once we sort of anchor into one or the other, it becomes very clear the reality we're living in.
When I look around me, most people wouldn't even believe half of this. So how do they choose? How can they even choose
Yeah,
if they
that's
don't
a good
know?
question. Yeah, so back in 2010 when I sort of had my reawakening, I was, greeted by the Galactic Federation, and they told me about these different timelines and this, like, old Earth and this new Earth, and, that, like, we're gonna be moving into this new frequency, if we so choose, of light and love and whatever is solutions. And they said some people won't be moving and some people will. And I looked around at my life and I was like, well, out of all my friends and all my family members and all my teachers and all the students and all the neighbors that I know, it'll be me. I'll be all alone over there because no one's coming with me. Like, no one gets this stuff. No one understands. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. I am all alone here. And granted, that was back in 2010, right? So it's been, oh my God, it's been 16 years. Um, and now I can happily say that the majority of the people that I know are all going to be moving through, not because they understand spirituality. This is the cool thing, right? You simply have to just be a good person. If you are a genuinely, authentically good person, who cares? Who wants everyone to succeed? Who believes in unity? You're moving on up to the higher timeline. That's really what it comes down to. You also have to have a willingness to change. A lot of people right now who are attached, who are ego driven, who are service to self, who are stubborn, and obviously who are fear-based are really struggling right now because their spirit guides and the world around them wants them to make different choices, wants them to be able to change in order to access those higher timelines. And they're too attached. And so they're stuck right now, And I think the next couple of years are going to really force people into that choice.
Wow. Now that is the right way of doing it. Just be a good person, and it's been said for millennia. This is what you need to do. So that's really good to hear. Now I want to get into some fun stuff that you've experienced. So I had some older videos where you wander places where you shouldn't be, and can you talk about some tricky situation, hairy situations, like you said you've been in?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'll give you a good example. So about maybe 8 months ago, I was remote viewing an underground. It was actually in a mountain military base, but it wasn't with the shadow government. It was with like a lot of people call them the white hats. They like to be called the collective. So essentially, they're the shadow government, but the good guys. They're like the good shadow government, like behind the scenes, and that's really nice. So like, there's a galactic federation that's more extraterrestrial based, and then there's like the white hats that are here. It's an organization of people and beings that same thing. Um, they are sort of intermingled with politics and celebrity culture and, everything across the board. Anyway, so I was talking with them. I had a meeting with them, and they asked me to join their organization as a remote viewer because they have like white hat hackers and they have remote viewers and like they have like a whole bunch of people who work for them. And I actually told them, I said, no, I can't join. I just simply don't have the time and energy to join your organization. But, thank you for thinking of me. So I get out of that meeting. That was probably like an hour, hour and a half. I come back to my home, right? Or I come back to my body, I should say.
Okay.
And, a couple hours later, I'm kind of feeling watched, right? And I'm like, what's going on here? And I take a look out of my body, and there are 5 remote viewers that are all surrounding my house. And they're like watching me through my house. And I was like, "Oh my god, who is this?" Turns out there were 5 remote viewers from the White Hat organization who just wanted to kind of, I don't know if they were just observing me or they just wanted to sort of check in to where I lived or whatever. So I told them to leave. I, like, kicked them out, right? And then what I did was I cloaked my house, okay? You can do this. Essentially, I, like, put an invisibility blanket around my house, and then, and, like, not everyone's gonna get this, but As a remote viewer, you can go to places that have a certain signature. Like, for example, if I've been to Hawaii before, Hawaii and different locations in Hawaii has a signature, so I can just almost teleport back to that signature. Same thing, like a person has a signature, you can teleport back there. So there's a signature of the house, and I took the signature of my house and I threw it into the middle of space. So anytime those remote viewers want to go back to my house and remote view it, they're going to be thrown out to the middle of space. And then I took the signature of the house that was cloaked and I scrambled it. And so that's just one example of how, you know, as a remote viewer, you can also be remote viewed.
Hmm. So people can find you easily.
Well, no, not easily if you know what you're doing. There's been other moments. So, for my online community, I have sort of a membership platform on my website. And I do like monthly remote viewings for different celebrities and politicians. And I ended up remote viewing Vladimir Putin. And it was funny because the second that I don't know where he was at. It seemed like he was either like at it could have been like a political rally or like a conference or something, but he was in a crowd surrounded by a lot of people, and then there were a lot of like bodyguards around him. The second I popped into this room, I came into the sort of the roof or the ceiling of this room. I was like floating right above him. Second I popped in, he turns his head, his physical head, and looks right at me. And I was so freaked out because I'm just not used to being seen, right? So I quickly leave. I pop out of that room, right? And I'm immediately being followed by his remote viewer bodyguards. He's got physical bodyguards and then he's got these remote viewer bodyguards, which a lot of politicians and shady sort of members of the Illuminati have. So I left and they started following me, right? So they can do this. So I had to pop in and out of multiple different places. So I would go to Venus, and then I went to Greece, and then I went to Switzerland, and then like I probably went to maybe 15 to 20 different locations, popping in and out of um, before I lost them and then went back to my body. Because obviously you don't want them to know who you are or where you're coming from.
Now, if he was able to see you,
Yeah.
does that mean
Yeah.
he's not human?
Yeah, exactly. It means he's not human.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Are there any leaders that we should look out for?
Um, I mean, all of them.
All of them.
I don't wanna just blanket statement all of them. I think back in the day, I thought anyone with an influencer platform was a reptilian shapeshifter. Nowadays, I know better, but yeah, I would say that there's quite a few. And it's tricky too because there are, once again, there are quite a few of these influencers and politicians and celebrity figures that are actually a part of the white hats. And then there's a couple who are like double agents, right? They're a part of quote unquote the Illuminati, and then they're also a part of the white hat organization or maybe the Galactic Federation. So they do a little bit of both. I mean, it's like espionage, like it's like crazy, but like this is stuff that we've seen time and time again, and this is all happening behind the scenes. So for me, I always say use your discernment, right? I'm not going to name names, but you'll know if someone is authentic and maybe, of the light versus someone who does not have the best interests or trying to manipulate, and who's of sort of a darker frequency.
But from the sounds of it, this almost seems like humans have barely any control politically, for instance.
The power that we do have is in our focus to consciously create both individually and collectively. If we could all come together and just agree on something as basic as human rights, then we could actually change things here. But for us to try and change things from the inside of the system, it's just never going to happen.
Got it. Well, that's exciting. Can you tell me what you think the purpose is for human beings here on Earth?
That is a loaded question. I talk about this a lot. I have videos on my YouTube and on my website about this. So if you want to know more, please go there. But I'll kind of give you sort of the Coles Notes version. So I believe that planet Earth is a giant experiment. I believe that we're extremely unique in this way. right? We're not unique at all, and then we're very extremely unique compared to other third dimensional species. And so we are an experiment because our evolutionary path has been interrupted and intervened by many different extraterrestrial beings, not just one, but many. I believe we have upwards of 15 to 20 different species DNA within us. And that makes us very, very unique. And that gives us an incredible ability to do things beyond our wildest imaginations and do things beyond the very laws of physics itself. Um, we have what? We have 90% junk DNA. We only use 8% of our brain. Like, what if we unlock all of our DNA? What if we were to unlock all of our neural pathways? Like, what if? Like, what happens then? That's us accessing this extraterrestrial dormant DNA. And we can access that through higher states of vibration. When we're in lower states of vibration, we access our reptilian DNA, which is the fight, flight, or freeze. It's the survival mechanisms. That's where they want to keep us because that's where we can be controlled, right? Essentially, the reptilians who run this planet are scared of us because we are so much greater and more powerful than they are. They are simply reptilians. We are a crazy hybrid species that no one's ever seen before. So I believe that we are not only just an experiment, but we are this prophecy planet. We are a hybrid species that is meant to do incredible work for the rest of the universe. And so we are essentially the sons and the daughters of many different beings. And that's why they're so curious about not just us here, but also our evolutionary path. And at the end of the day, the choice that we make, whether or not we want to raise to the highest frequency or ascend to the lowest.
And just this just came into me, my thoughts. Does that mean that they're also trying to numb us down with like technology, phones, TV, stupid programs to keep you busy?
Exactly. I mean, a big, big part of their agenda is distraction. How can we distract them away from themselves? Because we don't want them to know how powerful they are. Yeah,
If you had one message to people, what would you give?
it's exactly that. It's that you are far more powerful than you've ever been taught to believe. And you have the ability to access worlds within and worlds beyond this one. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, cool, thanks, Elizabeth, for all that information, but I still have to pay my bills. Well, guess what? You are the creator of your reality. And the first step to creating your reality is to take radical responsibility for everything you've created up until this point. If you're in a constant cycle of blaming the government or blaming your boss or blaming your in-laws or projecting your fears, then nothing's going to change for you. If you finally admit that all the good in your life is because of you, which is easy to do, but likewise, all of the bad was also because of you, because you decided to learn something. You decided to get challenged. You decided to grow from that challenge and get to the next level. If you can accept every aspect of your life as your responsibility, you are well on your way to then asking yourself, what else can I create? And all you have to do in order to create your dream life is to focus your attention on it. Your consciousness is the seed of creation.
You have tons of content on your website, I believe, right? Where
Yep.
can people find you?
Yeah, ElizabethApril.com. I have my first book. It's called You're Not Dying, You're Just Waking Up. My second book is called Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety. And then, of course, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all of the different platforms. And I apologize because I pop up a lot and I annoy myself. I'm sick of my own face. So if you do follow me, just know there will be a lot of information coming your way. Um, but a lot of people love it too because they always feel a little bit less crazy when they end up binge watching all my content.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see exclusive content, make sure to join our membership or Patreon. And if you want to see videos now, click here or here.